You ever start a movie late at night after a long day with no intention of finishing it, but it pulls you in? Then you have to talk about it with your friends and family because it was so good or so bad? You, my friend, are not alone.
Welcome to the Midnight Watch Podcast.
What's up, Watchers? Welcome to a new episode of the Midnight Watch Podcast, the podcast where we discuss these movies that we all love, secretly love, and love to hate. We're your hosts, Jeremy and Josh, and let me just warn everyone to buckle up because we're in for a wild ride today.
That's right, Jeremy, and just a reminder, we have a mostly solid rule to review movies that have been around for at least 10 years or more. We also like to rate these movies in 3 categories. Number 1, did it hit its mark when it was released? Number 2, is it still relevant today? And number 3, for personal enjoyment. Okay, now, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Jeremy, what epic, legendary film are we trotting out for the kids today?
Speaking of trotting, dust off those saddles, boys and girls, and grab your musket and your tricorn hat. We're taking you back to 1776 by way of the year 2000. Whether he's driving through a post-apocalyptic wasteland or rocking a kilt, no one screams freedom. Sorry, that was more of a 1980s hairband. No one screams freedom like this guy does. My fellow watchers, put all your hands together for the red, white, and blue epic film, The Patriot.
America! Heck yeah!
Woo!
All right.
Monster truck.
Monster trucks.
Okay, let's see here.
PBR.
Yeah. Paps and naps. That's what we're talking about.
Anybody got any Keystone?
Right? Keystone Light. We don't want a real beer. We just want Keystone.
That's right.
All right. Let's jump right into this. So, let's see here. Josh, what was the first time you'd ever heard of this movie?
Definitely when it came out. Actually, I never saw Braveheart, which came out, I think, in 95, 96, somewhere in there. And so I never saw that when it had first come out. So I kind of caught up on a lot of Mel Gibson in general right around 2000, 2001. So I don't remember specifically seeing this movie. I'm pretty sure I didn't see it in theaters or anything, but I was definitely a big fan of his when it came out and rented it or whatnot.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you said rented. That was the first time I ever heard of this movie. I think I was in Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, and I saw the front cover of this, and I was like, "What is that?" And I saw it. It had come out this year, and it was rated R. And of course, I wasn't allowed to watch this movie, so
sure.
I saw it several years later, and then as a strange turn of events, it kind of became the movie that we watched for the 4th of July. Even though this is a very bloody movie, and so you know how Dad normally doesn't watch bloody movies or violent movies, but he liked this one. But actually, I have a theory why he liked this one.
Okay.
So, you want me to go into the theory right now?
Oh, please.
Okay, so this movie is a melodramatic drama movie for sure. So it does have sequences of violence in it, and it really pulls the heartstrings on different times. But at its heart, it is like a PG-13 movie with R-rated violence in it. So that's how I see it, and I think a lot of it has to do with Roland Emmerich, the director, because he was like the master at blockbuster movies in the 90s, and his style really hasn't changed. I think just that moviegoers have kind of grown out of his style of movies.
Right.
So,
yeah, I totally agree. I felt like the violence in this movie, I mean, at the time, I remember it was just like, whoa, that was gruesome. And now, I think, like we were talking before we started recording, just about how even the new Marvel movies or DC, I mean, there is an incredible amount of stylized violence in it. And granted, in this movie, it's depicting real people being blown to bits and blood everywhere. But still, violence is kind of violence. And I don't think it's that violent by today's movie standards. In fact, I'm gonna let my girls watch it, and they're younger than the appropriate age, you could say. So I think they can totally handle it.
Yeah, I think besides, well, we did discuss this briefly beforehand. Besides there's 2 cannonball scenes in this movie where somebody gets their head taken off with a cannonball. That's like less than a second long. And then you see 2 people that get their knees knocked off. That's probably the worst scene out of the movie. But ratings, the way the rating system has changed, and like you said, basically if they took all the gunshots in this movie and made them less like blood splurting, it would be more of a PG-13 movie.
Oh, yeah.
So, because like Minority Report, which we already reviewed, and if you missed that, you should check it out. But that one is definitely, I think, was pushing the PG-13 rating in certain, like the opening sequence in that movie.
Sure. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So this
riding that line.
Riding the line, yeah. PG-15 in my opinion. But I definitely think that this movie was, yeah, they could have toned it back a little bit, because I don't remember it being as violent as other war movies, for example. So this is like the most friendly R-rated war movie that I've seen so far.
I agree.
That I can think of right now. That might change in 20 minutes. So
sure. Well, when we compare it to The Matrix later, as we round to.
Right, exactly. Yeah, nobody does a tomahawk scene like The Matrix. Yeah,
that's right. Remember that part with Neo?
Right. And Neo was fighting the Brits. So let's see what else we got here. It was directed by Roland Emmerich, a German director who appeared on the scene in the early 90s. I believe his first American movie was Universal Soldier, and then I think his first, I don't know if he did Stargate as well, another Kurt Russell movie for you Kurt Russell lovers.
That's right.
David Spade was in that movie. David Spade was not in that movie.
No.
Spader was in that movie.
David Spader, yes.
Yes, fantastic actor. And anyways, it's a pretty good movie. But the movie that he became probably notoriously famous for, Roland Emmerich, the director, was Independence Day in 1996. Everybody was talking about that movie when it came out. And I think to this day, it's probably still his most famous movie.
Oh, no doubt. I completely agree.
And then he did, after that, he did Godzilla, and then which was another blockbuster-style film. And then this was he's done movies in the past, like smaller films that were not big blockbuster movies, but this is his bread and butter. And so The Patriot was probably more serious than his other movies, sort of.
Right.
But
I can see it. Well, I mean, you said it. It's so much melodrama.
Yeah.
In this movie, and I don't remember any of that in Independence Day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a little bit when the dog jumped in slow motion. Then they say, because everybody dies except for the dog. That's an unwritten Hollywood rule there. Like, don't kill the animals.
Right. We don't want PETA on us.
Right. No way. So I have a little bit of a rabbit trail, and I don't know if I'm going to be super nice to this movie today, but okay. I think a lot of the issues from this movie stem from the writer Robert Rodat. I think I said his name right. Sorry if I didn't, even though I'm about to say not nice things about you. But he is most notably known for being one of the writers of Saving Private Ryan, which came out 2 years before this. And I think that's what netted him this job, because before this, he had only done like Fly Away Home, a family movie that was well received, and some other family films. But I think Saving Private Ryan, though, was definitely a better movie because of the other 2 writers, which was Scott Frank, who also wrote Get Shorty, The Lookout, and Logan, the movie from 2017. Excellent movie there. I mean, sorry, we're not going to review that movie because it's sooner than 10 years. That movie's freaking brilliant.
Until we break our own rule, because that movie is so awesome.
Yeah, we might have to break our own rule later. So, and then also the third writer from Saving Private Ryan, Frank Darabont, who is probably most famously known for writing and directing The Shawshank Redemption. So
yeah, those are bangers.
Yes.
Those are solid films.
So the writer, Robert Rodat, I think since he is credited as the sole screenwriter on this movie, and I think that this was a lot of pressure on him to be like a breakout role for him epic-wise, and I don't think he quite hit the home run on this one. It looks like he had submitted the screenplay 17 times before it was accepted.
Right, and I'm not all up on screenwriting and how many drafts people typically submit, but that seems like a lot. And maybe we're way off. Any screenwriters out there want to set us straight?
Right.
Please let us know.
Yeah,
that seems ridiculous.
I was about to say the same thing. I know too. Also, like if somebody else writes the screenplay and then somebody else comes in and rewrites like half of it, then the first person doesn't even get a credit at all. So screenplays sometimes, are rewritten multiple times. But I agree. I don't know what's the norm. That does seem like a high number.
Right, and that's one guy, because we've all heard of screenplays getting reworked by numerous people. Like you said, somebody else jumps in and redoes it and this and that. And that seems to be pretty typical. But one person rewriting it, that's a lot. They must have had a lot of faith in that guy too.
That's true. I wonder who he was related to. But we'll see on this. This is another score by John Williams, and I did really like the score in this movie. It has a very haunting theme song that goes along well with Mel Gibson's character of being haunted by the sins of his past.
Yeah. Almost any time in this movie where there's something emotional happening, John Williams just kills it. I mean, it just grab the tissue, man. This is such an emotional movie, and John Williams is such an excellent writer to convey emotion.
I totally agree, and I have to say I think so I think this movie made me tear up like 3 or 4 times in this movie,
dude,
and like the feels, which is so funny because this movie made me tear up, like it really hit me, and then there's other times where I'm cringing because the dialogue is so bad.
Sure.
So it goes the full Monty on like back and forth with between being like really great scenes and then other scenes where you're like, I've seen this before on the Hallmark Channel. So
I can't wait to get into breaking down our thoughts about it, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the emotional stuff that I do not remember experiencing the first time I saw it, because I didn't have kids at the time, and watching this movie as a father is totally different. And maybe that's another reason why Dad liked this so much, because the father angle on this is incredible.
Oh yeah, this movie is not about the Revolutionary War. This movie is about one character, one father, and his family.
Right.
Which, in a weird way, I don't really feel like this movie is a very patriotic movie, because you don't really even know why the Revolutionary War is being fought. They give you one scene, and that's pretty much it. But I will say this, though, the movie does know what it's going for. Like, it's not meant to be the end-all Revolutionary War movie, which I thought it was. I have not seen this movie in a long time, and then we watched this for the review, and I was like, wow, we got a lot to talk about. So, all right, let's get through some of the intro stuff.
Give me some more. You got any more trivia? Tidbits?
Yeah, I got a little bit more tidbits here. So this movie was, let's see here, starring Mel Gibson, Heath Ledger, Jason Isaacs, and a bunch of other people. But then one thing I wanted a couple shout outs to is, let's see, Tom Wilkinson does not. He's one of those actors that's just in everything, and he's a great actor. And I didn't think he was given that much to do in this movie, but
it was a cakewalk for him. His caliber.
That's true.
It was nothing. This was just like, show up. All right, let me spit these lines out, and I'm gonna go home.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. I will say I'm going to butcher this guy's name, and I apologize, but I believe it's Cheiki Caro. I should have looked this up before we started this.
I think this is what we do on the Midnight Watch podcast. I think we butcher names.
We wing it and butcher it. Yeah.
Yes.
He is a fantastic actor, the Frenchman in this movie, and I normally only see him as a villain, so it's really cool seeing him as also a family man and a very good guy in this movie.
Right.
And then also, I did not know this, Logan Lerman is in this movie. And for all of you people who know exactly who Logan Lerman is, he's one of the stars from the new Amazon Prime movie or show Hunters. I think he's in that show. And then also he's Percy Jackson from the Percy Jackson series. So
that's right.
He's been around for a while.
Right.
But he's like a little kid in this movie. So when I saw his name, I was like, hey, I know who that is. He's also from Perks of a Wallflower.
Yep.
Which a lot of people like that movie. It's a good film.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And then the movie, I'm trying to look at right now, other people.
Well, Donald Logue I don't know if you're a Sons of Anarchy fan, he shows up in either the second to last or the final season as a ex-U.S. Marshal or something like that. And then probably most recently and maybe most notable, if you were a fan of the show Gotham, he is, dang it, I just forgot his character's name. Plays Jim Gordon's partner.
Yeah, I believe his name is Detective, not Jim Gordon.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Cleared it up.
Yes.
Nailed it.
And also, Chris Cooper is in this movie, who is was in he tends to always play the politician type of character. Very good character actor. And then fan favorite.
What a great voice! I love his voice.
I do too. Yeah, fan favorite here. Adam Baldwin is in this movie.
Yes, some say the favorite Baldwin.
The favorite, yes.
Some say
this guy does not age. I swear he looks the same that he did in Stanley Kubrick's movie. Totally blanked on that one that he's in, the Vietnam movie.
Oh, Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Full Metal Jacket. And then he's, of course, plays Jane in Serenity and Firefly. Right. And then he's in Chuck, another great show.
Right.
So
yeah, that dude's a stud.
He is. He's just good. I mean, he's good in everything.
Right. I forgot, because I was going to bring this up, too. The French guy, who I will not butcher his name. You did that just fine.
Oh, let me do it for you.
Do it again.
Cheeky Caro.
Yes, beautifully done.
to Cheeky Caro. Sorry.
Take another sip there. It's getting better.
Absolutely. Alcohol.
Okay.
Best.
Anyways, he's the villain in my favorite Jet Li movie, Kiss of the Dragon. The dirty cop French inspector.
Yes. I think that's the only other movie I've seen him in, actually.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him in something else, but for sure that one, because I watched the heck out of that movie.
Oh, that scene with the chopsticks is, oh man,
the chopsticks, the pool,
the pool
balls, yeah, so many good scenes.
The dude that he fights,
the shrimp crackers.
Oh yeah, you got everybody. Bridget Fonda's in that movie.
I know.
All right, let's talk about more movies that we're not reviewing right now.
Hey. And don't forget, folks, we will circle back around to The Matrix.
Right,
reoccurring theme.
The Matrix will show up eventually.
All right, hit me with a couple more facts, and then we'll move on.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so the budget was $110 million, and it made $215,300,000. So this movie definitely was a hit. From what I understand, like a lot of people quite enjoy this movie and still enjoy this movie. So I think this is. Sure. I don't think this is one of Mel Gibson's finest movies, but it's definitely a movie that you think of when you think of Mel Gibson. Not as much as like Braveheart and Payback or Lethal Weapon, of course. Right. So I think that's about it. Before we jump into the synopsis, let me check my notes. Yeah, no, I think that's about. Let's get right into that synopsis then.
Sounds good. So this one, ladies and gentlemen, I tried to write it down as short as possible. This is a very long movie. I mean, it's pushing at 3 hours. So trying to write a synopsis that doesn't take me 20 minutes to read to you. I did leave out some parts, some characters, so don't freak out. This is just to give any of y'all who have not seen this and don't really care to see it, you at least have an idea what we're talking about. So here we go. During the American Revolutionary War in 1776, Captain Benjamin Martin, a veteran of the French and Indian War, and a widower with 7 children, is called to Charleston to vote in the South Carolina General Assembly on a levy supporting the Continental Army. Fearing war against Great Britain, Benjamin abstains, but the vote is nonetheless passed, and against his father's wishes, Benjamin's eldest son, Gabriel, joins the Continentals. War with Great Britain begins. Time passes, and the war ends up on Martin's front door. There is a nearby battle in which his son was fighting. His son is wounded and goes home for medical help. Martin ends up caring for American and British soldiers alike. A British dragoon, I could say that. Cavalry, basically. A British dragoon colonel, William Tavington, arrives and captures Martin's oldest son, claiming he was a spy. As Gabriel is being led away to be hanged, Martin's next oldest son, Thomas, tries to rescue his brother, but is shot down and killed by Tavington. A grieving Martin then takes his next 2 oldest sons and ambushes the group of soldiers who are escorting his captured son. He rescues his son and nearly single-handedly kills the entire company of soldiers except one, earning himself the nickname the Ghost. This sets up an epic cat and mouse game between Martin, who ends up enlisting in the Continental Army, and the British. Martin leads a band of militia in a guerrilla tactics style campaign against the better equipped and professionally trained British Army. Martin is unstoppable, and this leads to multiple confrontations with the ruthless Colonel Tavington. Tavington, in a desperate attempt to stop Martin, ends up killing a lot of the families and friendly supporters of Martin's militia, including the new wife of his son Gabriel. This sends a rage-blinded Gabriel into a direct attack at Tavington to avenge his wife. The wily Tavington manages to escape after killing Gabriel. This is absolutely crushing to Martin. His biggest objective in all of this has been to protect his family. Now he has lost 2 sons and a daughter-in-law. Martin resigns his commission and is about to head home when he discovers an American flag that his patriotic son Gabriel had been repairing. This gives him the resolve to honor his sons and to help the Continental Army in one last-ditch effort to turn the tide against the British. At the Battle of Cowpens, Martin leads his militia in the spearhead attack against the British, who are being led by General Cornwallis, the leader of the British Army. As the battle ensues, Martin and Tavington have one last confrontation in which Martin is victorious. The battle is won, and the tide is turned in favor of America. And when the war is over, Martin returns home with his remaining children to build a bright new future. The end.
The end. That's some good stuff there. Let's see.
Well, thanks for listening, you guys. It's been a great show. We'll
next week.
Catch you next week.
So the reason this movie reminds me of The Matrix is
right.
Okay. Well, actually, you know what? We're talking about The Matrix. Let me just say something real quick. The way that these guys are like freaking crack shots with muskets is unbelievable. Because have you shot a black powder rifle?
Yes, it was very difficult. You had to aim like straight up in the air to hit a target that was, 50 yards away.
Yeah, so that's why like the stories of Davy Crockett at the Alamo, where him like capping somebody from 200 yards away, is freaking crazy. So these the reason that like these people would line up and stuff is like so they could hopefully hit somebody with that. But that's why frontier fighting was so intense. But the one thing that just kind of I literally was that jumped the shark for me when I was just like, okay, that was unrealistic, was when Tavington is riding on a horse and he shoots somebody who's running away with a pistol from like 100 yards away, and the guy dies. And I was just like, there's no way that he made that shot. I was just like, I'm sorry, there's no way that he did that. So
Tavington is Lucius Malfoy from Harry Potter.
That is very true.
I'm sure there was a healthy dose of black magic involved with that shot. Saying.
They cut out the Crucio scene right before he shot it.
Oh, that's right. He had his wand in his other hand as he flicked it over the top of the horse. I got it.
That's how you do it low key. You keep that wand in the pocket, but you got to wear baggy pants because you got to point it without people seeing. Anyways.
Classic.
All right. Let's see what we got here. So, I tell you, I've been talking too much for this round. Give some thoughts, Josh. What do you think?
So this was another movie I hadn't seen in a long time, and I had a couple of viewpoints that I want to look at as I watched this movie. Recently, there's been a lot of social justice protests because of people, rightly so, being tired of the police not treating black people the same as white people, namely killing a lot of them, murdering them, to be exact. So, stemming back to slavery at the beginning of our, the birth of our country, and this is a movie about the birth of our country. So I was just really curious, not remembering a ton of detail about the movie, but I was just curious, how do they handle slavery in this film? So I kind of had my eye, ready to check that out. And then secondly, I did remember that, the big part of this movie was this father and losing a couple of sons and trying to protect his family. So I really wanted to watch this with the eye of a father. I have 2 daughters, and it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. So a lot of life has passed between then and now. That being said, so this movie opens up with this very peaceful, idyllic plantation life, and you see these happy, content-looking slaves, which maybe is historically accurate, but it's sad and evil nonetheless. But it just kind of had this Disney movie kind of happy feel going on, which I was very suspicious of, initially. Mm-hmm. And then as the movie goes on, you start to see they make it clear that Mel Gibson's character is not a slave owner, that his slaves are free men, which is kind of surprising, being that this was in South Carolina, which the further south you got in the colonies, they really heavily relied on slave labor to, make their money, to work their crops and whatnot. So it seems a little bit of a stretch, like they were just trying to be PC about it instead of being maybe more historically accurate, which is ironic. So I observed all that, wrote these notes down, and then later I was reading some, fun facts about the movie. I saw that Spike Lee totally flipped out because of how inaccurate it was.
Right. I read that too. You're right.
And he was very upset that they didn't just portray it the way it should have, that way it most likely happened. And they tried to make it PC and try to make this kind of weak sauce point about, oh, new country, we can change things and slaves can be free and everybody's equal. Yay.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty weak. And I know for sure when I watched this when I was 20, that flew right over my head. Just like, oh yeah, there they are.
Right. Yeah. Because naturally, all the good guys didn't have slaves.
Right. Of course. Yeah. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just history, man. From a slave perspective, it really didn't matter who won because they still kind of lost. You were still going to most likely end up being a slave, have no rights, be traded as a third-class citizen.
Right.
For the game.
This was one... I know the reason they didn't want to talk about it is because they wanted to focus on Mel Gibson's character, but it is part of what it was back in the day, and the fact that they had decided, they had a conversation deciding, is he going to be a slave owner, or is he not going to be a slave owner? Mel Gibson was quoted where he's like, well, I guess we should have just made him a slave owner then, because that's one problem I do have with this movie is it's not historically accurate very much in a lot of different ways. Like they do it, from what I was reading, it is historically accurate with the fight sequences, but the actual story and the politics of it, which they don't really have a lot of politics in this movie, it's not. It's very Hollywoodized. And
sure.
So I'm conflicted about this movie because there's some stuff that I really did not like about this movie, but then at the same time, this movie wasn't trying to be the movie that I wanted it to be, and I thought it was from watching it when I was younger.
Right. Well, when I was younger, I'm sure what I wanted to see was this awesome action movie, and I'm going to feel pumped about America. Yeah. That's how we did it. That's how we do it. And just feel awesome about it. And that's you hopefully you learn a lot as you get older. So hopefully your perspective evolves.
Right.
And so I definitely had a different outlook going into this movie, aside from those two perspectives I was trying to view this movie from, slavery and then as a father. So yeah, when we get down to rating this movie at the end here, that comes into my decision on that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a conflicting. I'm excited. This movie definitely has a lot more to talk about, like the message of the movie versus, hey, what was your favorite scene? Which there are some great scenes in this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This movie does have very memorable. I would say, I did not look this up, but whoever's the cinematographer in this movie did a wonderful job. The CG in this movie, that's all in the background, is like really well done.
It is.
It is.
It holds up pretty well.
It does.
I thought.
I agree. I thought it held up pretty well too, because I know what I'm looking at is not there. There's no way they could have done that, but they do it so flawlessly. And they had a ton of extras in this movie though, which was pretty cool. Like in one scene, they had over 800 extras there. That's pretty legit, because I think this was before.
For sure.
This is before they got used to CG armies and stuff, which I think Lord of the Rings was one of the first movies that did that, which was a year after this. And so it was pretty interesting. Yeah, I agree, though. I think some of the melodrama, the cringiness was partly with the interaction between what's-his-face from Gotham and
Donald Logue.
Right, and the free slave that was... Which I was kind of confused, because he was counting 8 months, and I was like, well, who's keeping track of your 12 months, but then you're free, like, because you got to have papers for everything back then.
Right. Well, I guess it was because he put his mark down on that paper that Mel Gibson had for signups.
That's
the
why
sign-up sheet.
That's why we're reviewing these things because I missed that. There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
So let me just drop some trivia real quick.
Sure.
And this came out at the same time as Gladiator, which Mel Gibson actually turned down the main role of Gladiator because they thought he was too old for the role. And he did this movie. So this movie came out at the same time. So let's see here. The Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger, they had both trained on the period muskets. And it looks like Mel Gibson was able to shoot and completely reload and shoot again under a minute, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely a method actor in that case. Like, he was legit. Sure. So he looked really pretty comfortable with the action sequences. I guess him and Jason Isaacs practiced their fight scene almost every day, the entire shoot.
Right. It's like a 100-day shoot, and they rehearsed it every day. That's dedication.
That's pretty awesome. I gotta say, shout out to Jason Isaacs. This guy is one of my favorite character actors because
he's awesome.
He's so good, and you had told me this before. It's such a treat when you see him in a non-villain role because he does the villain so well. But when you see him in a non-villain role, it's even more special. Oh
yeah, there was some kind of cop show. Man, I don't even remember what it was called. Oh, there goes my alarm again. Let me address this real quick. Let me turn you off. I think I did. Okay. There was a police show that he was starring in. I don't even know. It might have been 10 years ago already. And he was the good guy. He was the cop. And it was like alternate timelines and stuff like that while he was solving a mystery. And he would jump between the timelines. Oh, I know what it was. He was, during the day, he was solving the case. And then when he would go to sleep at night, it was like he would wake up and he was working the case from another angle. So he was like two people working the same case day and night.
Was that a British show?
No, it was American. It was on ABC or CBS or something. I think it only went like 6 or 7 episodes, but Trinity and I were pretty into it. And I mean, mainly because we liked him from the Harry Potter movies. And I knew he was in this one. And
whenever I think of him as Hook from the Peter Pan 2003 Peter Pan movie. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
I just remember that scene at the end where he's all like, "Welcome to the family, boys." And because he also plays the dad in that movie.
Right.
And yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was awesome.
Let's see what else we got here. Harrison Ford actually shot down the lead role. He declined it. And he was saying that he thought that the script had boiled down the Revolutionary War to a one man's revenge melodrama, which I think he was pretty accurate in that.
It's pretty spot on.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, it looks like that the screenwriter, Robert Rodat, actually wrote the character of Benjamin Martin with Mel Gibson in mind. So that's pretty cool. I have to say, this movie, comparing it again to Saving Private Ryan, there's multiple reasons that a movie is either great or bad. It very rarely settles on one person's shoulders. Right. And in this definitely feels like a Roland Emmerich movie, which I was surprised at how much it felt like a Roland Emmerich movie. And compared to if Steven Spielberg had directed this movie, it would have felt dramatically different. Because you feel the impact of John Williams, you feel the impact of Mel Gibson. He's just, I have never seen him do a bad job in acting. Even if the movie's terrible, he is a phenomenal actor.
Sure. And he nails that family man, the father figure, usually in a very gruesome kind of movie, but man, he is so good at it. And it's kind of a side note. This is kind of you could almost say a tamer version of Braveheart. He's kind of playing that same kind of character a little bit. Obviously the story is vastly different, and they're both true stories. So it's, or they're in true time periods rather. Well, I was going to say with Mel Gibson, he might be one of the most vengeful movie fathers ever. Of course, I got to give a shout out to Charles Bronson, and then of course the GOAT Liam Neeson from the Taken movies.
I don't know. I disagree with you there. Liam Neeson is nobody's GOAT. No, I'm sorry. Charles Bronson set the standard, and then Mel Gibson carried on the flag, and Liam Neeson is in way better movies than the Taken series. Speaking of which, the screenwriter Scott Frank from Saving Private Ryan wrote and directed A Walk Among the Tombstones, which is a way better movie than all three Taken movies put together.
Oh, I remember that one now. Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yes. Yeah, that was fantastic. But anyways, yeah, Mel Gibson, though, yeah, he's in a lot of revenge movies. I mean, you got Bloodfather, the newest one, and then you've got...
Payback.
Payback. Oh, that's a great film. And then you got Ransom.
Ransom.
There you go. Yeah, you got The Patriot, and I think every other movie he's in was pretty much a revenge movie with him.
Well, he nails that. You really feel it. You feel what he's going through, like as a father. Which, and again, from my viewpoint, going into this movie of watching it as a father, maybe I just really, really connected with it. But it was very powerful. Yeah,
I think the first time I saw him and watched the full movie with him in it was Signs, and he did such a good job in that movie too. And so I just he plays a flawed character pretty well. Yes.
You don't.
Yes, he does.
Unless it's a very cocky kind of character. Usually when he's I don't know, from what I remember of his roles as a father and in different movies, he doesn't pretend to be perfect.
Right. No, absolutely. And yeah, you're right. He does always play normally a flawed character. Even if he's having fun with it, like Lethal Weapon, like his whole part, we're just like trying to kill himself by like doing crazy things and continuing on from that. Yeah. And then of course Mad Max, he's another, there we go. It's a whole series of revengeful movies right there.
Right.
So
and he's not perfect. He makes mistakes.
Yeah.
It's very relatable.
Yes, he is. And his eyes carry so much emotion in them.
Oh,
like, it's pretty intense. Almost
back to this movie. Right. Yes, I agree. The part where he tomahawks the crap out of that soldier when he's rescuing his son. You feel, it's like visceral. You feel his anger and his anguish, over the loss of his son. It's tangible.
Yeah. My wife pointed out a good point of that scene where she was like, he's totally going into shock when he's just hacking that guy to pieces.
Right.
Because he reacted so fast with like, hey, let's go, grabbed his other sons and was like, let's go save our one son that we can. And then when that was over, it's like when he fell to pieces while he was hacking the guy to pieces.
Right.
And yeah, that's probably the most intense scene, I think, out of the whole movie, just of the sorrow and loss.
Right. And then something that hit me too was later that night when he's tucking his two sons, the sons that helped him, when he's tucking them into bed, there's the older of the two and the way he's trying to process what happened, and he's angry and he's like, I'm glad we killed them.
Yeah.
And then there's the son that was, I guess it's his fourth oldest son, who was kind of going the other way, like, that was horrible. I don't know what I just did. And he's falling apart and he's like, I don't want to see you right now. So I just wrote this note down saying that when he talks to his two sons who helped him rescue his oldest, you see that no matter what you try to do for your kids, you sometimes can't help but hurt as much as help. And sometimes the more you try to hold your children close, the more you drive them away. That seems kind of trite, but contrived, but it's true. You do that as a parent. You think you're doing something good, or you're trying to help one child and you end up hurting the other one. Or you're trying to do something good for this child and it ends up being bad. Usually it's all done from a good place in your heart, but it's part of being human. We screw things up.
Well, thanks for shooting down my thoughts of being a good father. So.
Welcome
to life right now.
That's right.
This is the inevitable
Get ready to screw up
of your death, Mr. Anderson.
Hey,
the Matrix.
That was the most legit way to bring the Matrix in. Awesome.
Right. All right. Yeah, I know this movie does, though, deal with fatherhood. I think it deals with fatherhood in a great way. I'm totally going to cut you off there. No, go for it.
So one thing that I thought was very interesting, so you see all this, a father's love and trying to do the right thing and sacrifice and whatnot. And then there's a scene between Jason Isaacs, Colonel Tavington, when he talks to General Cornwallis. We see that Tavington has his own daddy issues, and that his reason to win at any cost is making up for his failed family life, or his failed upbringing, or his dad lost everything and he had a crappy childhood. And
yes.
Now he's this savage, brutal military man. He just, rains hell down on his enemies because he's angry at dear old dad, basically.
Yeah. So the point, this movie should have been called Daddy Issues, the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. We need to change it.
There you go. Yeah,
That's what we're calling it.
Changing it the name right now. So
one thing that I thought was very emotional, and I didn't have to try hard. It was obviously supposed to be emotional, but you see where Martin is melting down his dead son's lead toy soldiers for shot to kill his enemies.
That was well done.
It was. It was very obvious, but it hits you the way it's supposed to hit you.
Yeah.
So there was that, it was a necessity, and it was an honor to his son, who was too young to fight, but he really wanted to. It's funny because when I was watching this, I didn't know any of the facts about the movie, but as we're watching it, I'm like, man, this really reminds me of Swamp Fox from watching it as a kid. So right. I finished the movie, and then I started looking up some of the facts and whatnot, and then sure enough, that was one of the characters he was based off of.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of fun to see that.
Yes. One thing I thought was cool in this movie, which you see this a lot in zombie films, I didn't know. You probably see this a lot in war movies more now because they actually show gore. Was a lot of actual amputees were cast to play soldiers who lost their limbs in this movie.
Yeah.
So like that scene when the cannonball takes out those guys' legs, like those were actual amputees. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It was. And then that other fact that this was one of the first historically based movies that they actually brought in the Smithsonian Institute to come in and fact check them on their set design and costuming and all of that. So it is a good looking movie. Say what you will about it's too melodramatic or any of that. It looks really good. The costuming, the set design, really spot on.
No, you could definitely pause this movie almost any time, and like especially at the end when they're going for those sequences where he's holding up the flag and the smoke's all around him, and he's like, "Hold the line," and you want to like stand up from your couch and be like, "Yeah!" Like they earn those sequences, and they're so beautiful, and they do look like paintings.
Oh yeah, very very stylistic and in a good way, very historically respectful way.
Yeah.
Speaking of historical, I think we should definitely start a campaign to bring back the bundling bag, if you recall from the movie.
Right.
And, Heath Ledger's character is courting his future wife, and because he has to spend the night, they basically sew him up in a sleeping bag up to his neck.
Right.
I like where that's going. I think we should bring that back.
Yeah.
Being a girl dad, I fully approve.
You're like, hey, you can go over and watch a movie late at night with my daughter. By the way, we're gonna sew you into this.
Right. I'm gonna sew you into the couch up to your neck.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That would be pretty funny. I when I watched that scene, I was like, I totally forgot about that. Like, I still to this day, I don't remember that scene at all. And that's probably me being adult now, like being also knowing why you would do that.
Right.
But yeah, the American bundling bag, the American tradition.
Yes. Bring it back.
Right. It's the it's like those blankets, the Snuggies, except it's a bundling bag.
Oh, so I had a couple moving along. I noticed a couple things. I don't know if it's because of Swamp Fox, and it just got me kind of thinking old Disney, and just movies from the 60s in general. But I really kind of got the vibe. Mel Gibson, to me, really felt like the actor John Mills, who played the father in Disney's The Swiss Family Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
That came out in the 60s. He just, he has that family vibe. And I guess time period, it was probably similar.
Oh, yeah.
When that was supposed to take place. So maybe that was part of it. The other part was that Jason Isaacs, just the way he carried himself and his military bearing, he totally reminded me of Christopher Plummer playing the Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, the super reserved, type
very
character.
proper, but very serious, very spot on.
Very stiff upper lip type of character.
Right. So completely two different characters, but the way they carry themselves. Plus, they kind of look a little alike. I feel Christopher Plummer from that
when he was when he was super young. Yeah. Which, to bonus point right now, Christopher Plummer was the first live action Spider-Man. Or if anybody didn't know that, there was a 70s TV show, 9 episodes. Christopher Plummer was Spider-Man in the 70s for 9 episodes.
All right.
Apparently it was terrible, but
well, take that, Tobey Maguire.
Yes, you thought you were the first? No. You were the first emo Spider-Man.
Well, yeah. First and last, hopefully.
Well, one can hope.
Dang it, because of that, we didn't get Spider-Man 4 and 5.
That's
another discussion. Let's stop that right there.
Yeah.
We will be diving into Spider-Man 2002 at some point.
I will write that down because I definitely want to go into that.
Yes. That is a passion movie for us, for sure.
Right. We both hate that movie. So,
So, again, moving right along, this movie is so much about family and so little about the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
The messing with family is really one of the dirtiest of businesses.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that happens. One part where it just out of nowhere, it just choked me up. I just, boom, tight throat. Here come the tears. But when there was the one militiaman who kills himself, commits suicide.
Oh,
when they ride up on his farm and it's burnt to the ground and his wife and young son were just killed in the yard. And you see it in his eyes where his life is over. He's done. There's no coming back.
Yeah.
And he just offs himself. And me personally, I would be very much in a similar mindset if I were to come upon a scene like that involving my family. It would be very tough to not handle it the way he did.
Yes. Yeah, that scene was one of the scenes that kind of like teared me up because that was a terrible scene in the best of ways.
Right. I mean, it was well done. I completely forgot about that. Probably because it really didn't mean that much to me when I first saw the movie. This movie really covers old love, new love, lost love. There's so many aspects and elements of family life, multi-generational. It really runs the gamut. Again, this is why Dad liked this movie so much, because of the super strong family element going on.
Yeah.
And then another, dang you, director, cheap shot, easy tears, was when Mel Gibson's little daughter, who doesn't talk the entire movie because of trauma or whatnot, and then she finally calls out to him, Daddy, don't go. And he turns around his horse and he comes right back in and she's crying, don't leave. That's the first time she's talked and he's been trying to get her to talk.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that's a cheap shot.
Yeah, that crafty Emmerich,
Oh, man. There are tears on that one, for sure. Tears.
Yes.
Tears happened.
I didn't quite, not full tears, but that was a half tear on that one for sure.
Sure. I respect. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know if that's being a girl dad or what, but that was brutal. And you knew it was going to happen. Like, they set it up. It was a soft toss.
Well,
but it got me.
The thing that's funny about this movie is they don't really, for most of the movie, they don't really present anything new. It's just, I think that's the power of the acting and the power of the music. Because the way that is mixed together, that makes you almost tear up and cry. It's just, the feels are there. And I think that's why, for me, some of the lines that were cheesy were like extra cheesy to me, because other parts of it were so well done.
Sure. I totally get that. Well, I have one last little normal thought before we get to final thoughts.
Oh.
And that's where I did think it was a little bit of a bummer. You see Mel Gibson melt down the last toy soldier. He makes the last bullet. They're going into the last battle. You know what that bullet's for. And then that cannon goes off behind him and he shoots at Tavington and he misses. And then it sets up
more he hits him.
Well, he wings him.
He hits him in the shoulder, yeah.
He does. But he should have killed him. That was supposed to be the whole point. So I understand that it set up the epic hand-to-hand combat battle where he stabs him to death, which is great on the revenge scale. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
definitely that was good points for that one.
Nothing like a smoldering bayonet straight to the jugular for sure.
Yeah. So that was cool, but I think emotionally I was like, man, I wanted that bullet to get him. I wanted to put that bullet through his neck. That's what I wanted.
Maybe, so you're saying it would have been better if, like, instead of him, maybe the cannon went off and he dropped the gun instead or something like that?
Oh, and then picked it up later, like scrambling on the ground. He grabs it and whips it around and then blows his brains out.
Something like that. That might have worked.
Something like that. I don't know. That was just a little thing for me. Totally doesn't matter.
So, bouncing off of that, just a few minutes earlier in the movie, I think I watched the making of this movie a while back, and that, like, the whole scene where he's running with the American flag with the spear on the end, and then he just ducks down and spears the horse, and then Tavington flies off the horse over him.
Right.
That is an incredibly awesome scene. Shout out to my coworker, though. He has a 2-year-old son he always, like, rides his rocking horse, and for some reason he'll, like, smack the horse in the face, and he'll be like, "Sorry, horse." And it's so, like, when that scene happened and he just stabs the horse, that immediately that just all of a sudden popped in my head, was "Sorry, horse." And it was funny because, like, I'm laughing, but at the same time, though, that scene was cool. Like, obviously that was not a real horse, but, like, it was on an actual track that was going towards the stuntman, and so then when it hit it, the back of the fake horse flipped up and that threw the guy off. And such a cool sequence. Whoever thought of that was some movie making genius there. Like, that was a cool scene.
It was.
And then boom, right back to the score. John Williams, you hear that, like, and just that's like classic from Star Wars sound. It immediately ramps you up, because, like, right before then you're like, yeah, America, we're gonna win this war, and then immediately it's like, ooh, we're in the battle, and this is like, this, and
you're like, oh crap, what is this gonna happen? Are we gonna pull it off?
This is 2 hour and 30-minute mark. We've been in this movie for this long. This is the one time he's allowed to finally fight Tavington.
Right.
And he's going at him. He goes to shoot the bullet, like you said. The bullet misses, and then you finally see that fight scene they practiced for over 100 days.
Right.
Yeah. It was an epic fight scene. That is one scene I remember from watching this movie years ago. And that fight scene is definitely very, very good.
Yeah. It's well done. It definitely, I would say, could go on a list of memorable, epic final fights between the big good guy and the big bad. You know?
Yeah. The one thing I would say too that I was impressed with is that I was watching the background, and a lot of times in movies when you see people fighting in the middle of hand-to-hand combat with a bunch of people around them, sometimes you can see the actors behind them, like, fake fighting, and because they're just trying to keep it going because you're supposed to be watching the main characters. And in the background, they do a good job, though, of it looking like full-on wars going. Right. And I did kind of wish, though, this is just me nitpicking, is, like, for example, the movie King Arthur with Clive Owen, when he's fighting Stellan Skarsgård at the end of the movie, like, they're fighting each other, and then they get pulled away, and they have to fight other people to get back to each other to fight, keep fighting. And I thought that was really cool. So, granted,
it adds some other elements to it for sure.
Right, but it's still, like, this movie was pretty legit. So,
sure.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably go to our final ratings in this sequence of events.
Well, I have my 2 quick final thoughts. Sorry.
Oh,
let me rain on your parade there.
Excuse me.
Leading us to the end. So going back to one of my initial thoughts on the movie as far as how did they handle slavery, and I thought that the very happy free men together, yay, ending is a little too much of the happy Hollywood ending
to
this movie.
Josh, I'm honored. Yeah. But that was the part I was like, looked at my wife. I was like, you want some ice cream? Like, come on. This is, like, terrible.
Dude.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a stretch, the way they tried to wrap that up. It just felt too easy. It was just kind of a terrible ending, really, compared to how... I guess it kind of goes with what you were saying about some cheesy dialogue after they'd done some other parts so well. I felt like this was a very easy ending, which was kind of lame.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, I just want to say the cheesiest line in the movie that struck me was Cornwallis in the house at the end that's all shot up. And he's like, this is all changed. Everything is changed. And I was like, come on, Tom Wilkerson. We know you're better than that. Like, I know you did the best you could, but...
You should have slapped that screenwriter right then and there. Said, I will not say this.
Right. Be like...
Wallop.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure he would use that.
He probably would, yeah. And it just... Yeah, that I was just like... Oh, the movie is like... okay, as much as I personally thought the end fight scene was excellent, everything after that goes into... Oh, everything's happy and funky dory, and we're gonna build a new nation, so we're gonna start with your house first because you man, you
earned it, buddy.
You did, yeah.
Here we go.
Everybody's happy.
Pull out the PBR.
Right, right. I've been working on this new ale. Yeah.
Mr. Pabst here has been assisting me.
Right. We're thinking of giving him the Blue Ribbon Award.
Okay, here we go. My last thought. So I don't really feel like Martin is fighting for freedom from England. I feel like he establishes that from one of the very first scenes. He's not about that. Versus he's fighting to keep and to avenge his family.
Yeah.
That to me, that's really what's going on. There's nothing like fighting for your family. The movie tries, I think, to make it about patriotism very weakly, I think, or at least, obviously it was marketed kind of like that. Like it's this great patriotic movie. It's not.
No.
In my opinion. And,
no, it's
not. And I guess, at best for Mel Gibson's character, for him, that last battle is in honor of the patriotism that his oldest son felt. If there's any patriotism, it comes from the son.
Right.
I would say, as far as the family goes.
Because he's done. He's cashed out. And he's like, you know what? Forget it. Like, it's over. And he sees his son's, the flag that his son... But I mean, granted, they didn't show him, like, that the flag that his son has that has been patching up and stuff. I mean, maybe that's why he's like, you know what? We need to fight for the flag. But there's really no political emotion in this movie at all, which doesn't make it a patriotic movie, which is kind of... That's why we're going to call this movie Daddy Issues instead of The Patriot.
Sure.
It doesn't earn that name at all.
As far as a movie looking at, I don't know, fatherhood and some drama in the family and daddy issues, like you said,
yeah,
that's great. But we're getting ahead to our... critiquing this movie, but that's all I had to say about that.
We're there anyways. Let's
here we go.
Let's do
this
it.
This movie can be patriotic.
Yeah,
it could make you feel patriotic if you wanted to feel patriotic. But I feel like this movie is definitely a matter of personal perspective. I don't think it's clear cut.
Yes, no, I 100% agree. That I couldn't have said it. I was trying to figure out how to say that. Yeah, personal perspective. You are going to get something out of it. The main thing this movie brings is it is what Harrison Ford said. This is about one man and that family during the backdrop of the Revolutionary War. It always reminds me... No, I can't say that. That's a terrible comparison. I was going to compare it to Gone with the Wind, but no, never mind. That's a terrible comparison.
Right.
No, never mind.
You bite your tongue.
Yeah.
You take it back. Yeah. You take it back, man.
Take it back now. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay. So right. Final. Okay. Final.
Do you feel like this movie hit the mark when it came out?
When it was released?
Yes.
Let's see. So the mark was let's make some money. Yes, it definitely hit the mark. Roland Emmerich was still riding high. He still had a few years of riding high in him, and I think this movie. Also, too, Mel Gibson was still a major breadwinner at this time.
Oh, yeah. Super viable cash cow.
Right. So I definitely think this nailed it straight up. What about you?
I agree. I think it was what people wanted to see, and
yeah,
it didn't do too bad.
I think I give this movie an A for hitting its mark when it was released. I think that it definitely hit its mark dead on, and it made its money back, made twice as much what it was worth. So I don't know.
Sure. I guess when it comes to the money, that's hard to argue with as far as did it hit the mark when it came out. People obviously went and saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, sounds fair.
Yeah. All right, Josh. Is it still relevant today?
Again, that's where, man, I think it's so much about personal perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say, because it looks like, oh, this is all about the Revolutionary War and patriotism. And like I said, you could make it about that, but from what I saw in the movie, I don't feel like it really lands on that as far as patriotism and a cool Revolutionary War story. I think it's a lot of cool bits and pieces kind of patched together like that flag to make this, the sum of its parts, or whatever, however you want to say that.
Right.
So I kind of don't feel like it's really relevant today as a patriotic movie, and especially with all the social justice stuff going up and addressing systemic racism and our history of slavery, totally missed the mark. So that's probably absolutely is not relevant today.
Is not relevant. Yeah. Okay, so what would you rate it? I mean, for relevancy.
Oh, for relevancy, I would have to give it, well, I'd just give it a D. Yeah. I don't think it's a complete fail.
No.
But it's kind of close as far as what we just discussed.
I went in watching this movie expecting a patriotic movie, and I did not get that from this movie. I got an excellent Mel Gibson family movie, as in so with that, which is not bad. I agree with you. I give this movie a D on is it still relevant today?
All right, and here's the one everybody's waiting for. Personal enjoyment. What do you say?
Personal enjoyment. Personal enjoyment. I really enjoyed some scenes, and then other scenes I was cringing, and in the other scenes I was disappointed in. So I gotta say, I give this movie a D for personal enjoyment, because as the full-length movie, this is almost a 3-hour-long movie. I will probably not be watching this movie very often.
Sure.
And that was not my opinion when I was a lot younger. This movie was the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas.
Right. I totally agree. I was super excited about rewatching it because I remember liking it so much when I was younger. It's been a while, for me too.
Right. So I say D. Yeah. So
D.
What about you?
That being said, I feel like I wanted to give it a C because it was all right. Yeah. It was pretty good. I'd like my kids to see it because there is some historical things. I mean, we really haven't watched a whole lot of anything about the Revolutionary War that I can think of. So I think they would enjoy this movie. And again, like the costuming takes place in the South, which is where we live now. And
the visuals.
The visuals. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things going on. A lot the family aspect. Okay. The emotional ride that I took watching this movie from the perspective of a father, I actually really enjoyed that. It was really cool emotionally. So emotionally as a father, I give it a B.
Oh.
I know. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
That is beyond belief.
B. It's a double B. Brother.
Give it the BBB.
Pep's state of approval. A triple B.
This is the Keystone approval, brother.
Keystone. There we are. The Matrix and cheap beer. Seems like.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's probably a C, but because of, like I said, watching it through the father lens, I give it a B. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. So between the two of us combined, it is a C-rated movie right there for you folks.
There you have it.
Well, at least from personal enjoyment, we haven't really talked about how we're going to rate all three of these. So I guess we'll just keep it 3 separate categories because that makes it more fun.
Yeah. I don't think we have in the other podcasts. I don't think we have given them an altogether rating. Maybe we should do that. We'll try to do that next episode, everyone.
So we got A for, let's see, we got A for hitting the mark. We got a D for is it still relevant, and a C for personal enjoyment for the two of us. So there you have it.
Well, I ain't no math whiz, so that sounds like a C plus or so.
On an average scale. Every movie looks better with the accompaniment of a Pabst beer.
Right.
All right, let's see what we got going on. All right, let's jump right into the quote from the next movie that we'll be covering for the next episode.
So all right, here we go.
This is a two-parter. Hold on to it. Here we go. Let's see. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let me do the first part.
Okay.
People needn't worry so much. It's not my time yet. This is not how I go.
Really?
Truly, I saw it in the eye.
The old lady by the swamp?
She was a witch.
No, she was old and probably senile.
I saw my death in that eye, and this isn't how it happens.
So how does it end? Oh, wait. So how does it happen?
Surprise ending. Wouldn't want to ruin it for you.
You did a pretty good job on that. I think I did a terrible job, but I don't remember this character.
Oh, you will when you watch this.
I know. I'm excited about this next one. But all right, guys, that's all for today. If you want to check out the movie, the Patriot, then we watched it on Netflix, so it's still on there, and you can hopefully you enjoy it for your own enjoyment for the 4th of July weekend coming up. But special thanks to our sound producer, Jake Colvin. We wouldn't be sounding this good without you. If you guys enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you shared it with your friends or anyone that you think would like it.
That's right. And please hit that subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating if you're listening on Apple Podcast. Or, hey, we'd also appreciate a positive review or whatever on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And if you'd like to contact us, you can email us at themidnightwatchpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for everything. You have a great week. And as always, keep up the watch.